Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister through Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I've been going through the text this year, reading it with the Holy Spirit, reading it with Jesus, asking for clarity, and then writing from that clarity. I did that with all the lessons, and so they're all available. But I'm going to do something a little different today. I just want to talk to you about something I read in the course. I'm on vacation. I've been on vacation now for a little over 2 weeks. I'm in Sedona, which is just a wonderful place to be. And I had an opportunity to join a group practicing the Choose Again process, which was developed by Deidre Walsack. It's a really wonderful process based on A Course in Miracles. And this particular group is led by Travis and Wendy Townsend. And I just had some great healing from being part of that. One of the things that they use in that particular practice is a little book that has got many selections from A Course in Miracles. And I just chose one of those selections to talk about. But before I do, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the Choose Again because I was so impressed with it. I highly recommend it. And it's called 6 Steps to Freedom. And the first step says, I am upset. Step 1 in the conflict upset resolution dance is to own that I am in conflict or upset. The conflict serves a purpose and will lead to a joining if resolved. And of course, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Nobody's going to heal from something if they are not willing to look at that. And then step 2 says, me. It is about me. The conflict is not about the other person. In comes that little voice. Yeah, right. The conflict is never about anyone but me. Trust this step, even if you don't believe it yet. Without this step, peace and joining will not happen. It is about me. Oh, okay. So it's about me. I now know that blaming anyone for the conflict will not get me what I really want, and that is to say, to be happy and to be at peace. And I absolutely live by that. I live it. I teach it all the time. I teach it because I want to learn it. I want that to be the way I live. I don't care what happened. I don't care what anybody said to me. I don't care about what anybody did to me. If I'm upset, it's not about them. It's about me. And I can't move forward until I accept that that's the truth. Step 3, feel the feeling. How do I feel? It's surprising to see how hard it is to really know how I'm feeling. This is where commitment to honesty is essential. I have to know how I feel in order to go to step 4. Now, I want to say about feeling, that was not my favorite thing. It's not my favorite thing. Feelings, strong feelings, feelings that, I don't know, just feeling of being upset, being anxious. Like a lot of people, I will go to great lengths to avoid feeling. But you know what? I had to learn to just not ignore my feelings, not to try to cover them up, not to ignore them, not to tell myself, oh, that feeling is just an error. It's just a mistaken belief and let it go. No, let the feeling come up, experience the feeling, no matter how uncomfortable it is. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's an important part of any practice. And then step 4 says, remember when I felt this way before? How is that feeling familiar? Now I have to become a detective. I'm looking for the source of this feeling. When did I first feel this way? Go back as far as I can in memory. And after a little searching, I'll remember an incident when someone said or did something that made me feel that way. And that was what I did. I did one of the processes with them. And so that was exactly what I did. I went back to when I was like somewhere between 6 and 10 and talked about what was happening then. Because that was what came to me. I didn't expect it to, but that was the memory that came to me. And so we worked with that. And then step 5, establish what my judgment of myself was at that moment. What is my perception? How did I interpret the situation? What was my judgment of myself in that situation? What did it say about me that that person acted or spoke that way? What kind of a person deserves to feel this way? Well, that's the part that isn't the most fun, is to look at that and to discover those ideas, those thoughts, those beliefs about myself, how it felt then. And I know that it can be, especially for those of us who've been doing the course for a long time, we understand the concept behind these thoughts and understand when they're not true. But that's not enough. We have to be honest. We have to be radically honest. And I'm not looking to see, what do I believe now, even. I'm just looking to see when I was 6 years old and this was happening to me, what was my judgment about it? How did I interpret it? What did it mean to me at that time? And then what did it mean about me? What was my judgment of myself whenever that was happening? That was crucial, absolutely crucial to getting to the healing. Step 6, and this is the best part, the absolute best part of it. This is a reward for doing this work. Embrace the truth about me. Now I must shift my old perception. My judgment of myself at that moment was wrong. It said nothing about me. Whatever happened way back when was not about me. Who I am is unchanged and unchangeable. The belief I formed about who I am is wrong and doesn't serve me. I now correct that belief. There are a number of ways I can do that. Affirmations help. I am love. I am whole. I am peace. I am innocent. I tell myself that I can see the situation differently. Forgiving myself for believing, thinking, feeling that I am, and then you fill in the blank for the belief that you had at that time. For example, forgive me for believing that I am weak, unworthy, lovable, unlovable, shameful, undeserving of love, that whatever I do, it will never be enough. You name it. Most of us have one or more of these limiting beliefs. You may have to do this more than once. Old beliefs are sometimes hard to shake. So there it is. Now I'm free. And after I did the process, I was free of that particular belief that I've been carrying since I was 10 years old. So those are the steps. And then the way that Travis and Wendy helped us to work through it was just amazing. When I'm through with this, I'm going to put in the comments a link in case anybody wanted to look further into this. Okay, so the one I wanted to talk about today comes from text chapter 25, section 9 and paragraph 9. And it says, the little problems that you keep and hide become your secret sins because you did not choose to let them be removed for you. And so they gather dust and grow until they cover everything that you perceive and leave you fair to no one. Not one right do you believe you have. And bitterness with vengeance justified and mercy lost condemns you as unworthy of forgiveness. The unforgiven have no mercy to bestow upon another. That is why your sole responsibility must be to take forgiveness for yourself. Well, isn't that a great paragraph? And so I want to start at the beginning. It says, the little problems that you keep and hide become your secret sins because you did not choose to let them be removed for you. That's why this process is so helpful. I went to 3 different meetings, and in one of them, I did the process myself. In the other 2, there were maybe 2, 4 people, I can't remember, who did their process. And the interesting thing was, as I'm listening to them share what it was, getting back to that moment when they begin to establish these beliefs, which are usually when we're very young, but them getting back to it and then talking about it, working their way through it, it became obvious to me that, wait, that applies to me too. It's not the same situation, but the beliefs that we all have in common, I was able to see that in myself, and that was so helpful because this was an unhealed place in me. This was a place, a little problem that I kept hidden, and it became my secret sin. It became the way, the secret sin was, I believed this about myself. I'm thinking about maybe what one of them was. Well, it's just let's say that someone in there had a situation in her home life in which she took on the belief maybe that she was unlovable. It's a common belief that we have. Many people have that belief. But when I heard it as she experienced it, I realized, oh, wait, I've done this too. And there's still in me this place that feels unlovable. And so I could only say that I was hiding that from myself. I mean, it's in me. How could I not know? I didn't know because I didn't want to look at that. I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to feel that. And if it did come up, I'm sure that what I did was I decided that, oh, that's been healed. Or I'll say, okay, Holy Spirit, I give you this now. I'm done with it. And I'm saying, okay, so I'm healed. I don't have to worry about this anymore. But just like he said at the end of this step, he said, you may have to do this more than once. Old beliefs are sometimes hard to shake. And that is so true. Sometimes we have to do it many times before we finally completely let go of a core belief like, I am not lovable. And I'm sure there are many places. When I did my process, and I look back at that time when I was 6, and when I felt overwhelmed by my responsibilities, and you wouldn't think a 6-year-old would have responsibilities, but that's the way my life was. And I began to see more and more things that happened, things that I had just put out of my mind and didn't remember. And you might think that that would bring me to holding a grievance against people involved, but that wasn't it at all. It didn't go there at all. Where it went was, it was there that I learned that I wasn't safe. It was there that I learned that life isn't fair, and that I was a victim. And I've seen the signs of victimhood all my life. That was I've often have said that was the main thing that I came here to heal for all of us, is a belief in victimhood, because I know Jesus says very clearly, I cannot be a victim of the world I see. I'm not. I'm a victim of my beliefs that I have put aside, that I have kept them hidden from myself. And they have become my secret sins. I'm a victim. How could that be a sin? Well, it's not what God created. It's like I'm saying God, I'm saying I made myself into something God didn't create, or that God didn't do a very good job of creating me, one or the other. And so the next one says, and so they gather dust and grow until they cover everything that you perceive and leave you fair to no one. How is it that, and yes, of course they grow. If we keep a belief for years and years and years, that belief becomes a certainty in our mind. And it becomes so fixed that it feels very, very real. In fact, it even can become our identity. And I'm sure if you haven't experienced it for yourself, and you probably have, then you've noticed it in someone else, that sometimes our worst things become our identity. And who would I be without that identity? Maybe you've noticed yourself telling the same story over and over. It could be a very sad story or a very hurtful story, but you like, when everybody gets together and they start telling their stories, you're like, oh, let me tell you mine. We'll even jockey for first place. My story's the worst. I've suffered more than anyone. We love our story. After a while, we love our story. We think it is us. So it's so important to uncover them. I know that A Course in Miracles talks a lot about living in the moment and not going into the past, but this is not what it means. The only good thing, the only good the past holds for us is the opportunity to forgive what we didn't forgive when it happened. If we're using the past to forgive, because the past will keep playing over and over and over and over until we heal it. It'll take on a different form. You'll see many different forms of being a victim, many different forms of being unfairly treated, but they will show up until it's healed. And to heal it in that place where it formed is so helpful. So, and it's never too late to do that. We can bring it out of the dark instead of hiding it and letting it gather dust, as he says here, and grow and grow and grow. We can bring it forward, and in confidence and in gentleness and in absolute certainty that we will be healed. When we ask for healing, healing is guaranteed. Okay. And it says, and how is it fair to no one? Because, and I think he tells us in one of these sentences, he says, the unforgiven have no mercy to bestow on anyone else. If I don't feel forgiven, I'm not going to forgive others. So we'll be fair to no one. Not one right do you believe you have. And bitterness with vengeance justified and mercy lost condemns you as unworthy of forgiveness. I know I've had instances in my life when that has been very, very true for me, that I didn't feel worthy of forgiveness. For a long, long time, that was true for me. There were things I had done, things I had said, mistakes I'd made that I just couldn't seem to forgive myself for. And why? Because I didn't feel like I deserved it. I felt it's like if you believe that your mistake is a sin, then you believe that you deserve to be punished. And when we have something that we did that is so bad we don't even want to think about it, that we hide it in the back of our mind and pretend we don't even remember it, then we think it's a sin. You know, as a course student, you probably come to the understanding that you don't sin, that you make mistakes, and mistakes are to be corrected. But if we're afraid to look at it, then we think we sinned. So that becomes our only responsibility, is to accept forgiveness for ourselves. And so there are many different processes that we can use to do that. Choose, again, is a really, really, really helpful process. You're doing it with someone else. And whenever we join with another person in any of this work that we do, it's your success, your healing, everything is magnified when we join with another. And sometimes I think we just have to. We've got to join. And I know one of the things I didn't want to do was to join with other people and do this. I had tremendous resistance to that. I'm like, I don't know what I'll do. You know, will I cry? Will I not cry? Will I feel emotion? Will I not feel anything? It's like, it's a kind of a feeling of being out of control. I don't know what's going to happen. And that was something that I've worked on for a long time, is letting go of control, belief in control, because I've come to understand nobody has control. That's a fantasy. Nobody from their ego has control. You don't know if you're going to be breathing in the next moment. How can you say you can control anything? And yet that's our fear drives us to want to control. And I saw that in myself. And so I did it anyway. Sometimes the best thing to do whenever you have a fear is just do it anyway. If you can do it if you can do it in gentleness. And if you can't, well, then ask the Holy Spirit to help you. I know that on my way to the meeting, I said, you know, Jesus, I don't really want to do this. I'm kind of dreading the idea. And nobody told me I had to, by the way. I just felt like I could feel the resistance and knew that resistance means there's something I'm hiding. And so I said, I don't really want to do this. And I said, couldn't you and I just do it together? There's no reason we have to bring anybody else into it. And the thought in my mind that he gave me right away was, no, no, you need separation is your problem. Joining is your solution. Just be willing to be honest. So he was asking me for radical honesty, and I still didn't have to do it. And that was up to me. But I said, I will do whatever you want me to do because I want freedom. I want to be free from this stuff. I don't want to, if I have this feeling that I'm a victim or that I'm unfairly treated or that I'm guilty because I didn't do a better job when I was 6 years old, which is what the 6-year-old mind believes. And if I carry that belief, I'm not going to be able to help anybody else. I need to be free. And I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be at peace. I can be at peace a lot of times, but then it's the first time that those feelings get triggered, then I've lost my peace. And I just don't want to do that anymore. So I decided to use that particular process because it was available to me and because I felt guided to do so. But there are many ways that we can use forgiveness, and as long as we do it. But first we have to be radically honest. We have to be willing to look within and see what it is that we need to see, what it is that we've been hiding from ourselves. Another thing that came to me as I did this, as I'm listening to everybody else go through their process, and it's very touching to be part of that. I would notice new things coming up for me, things that I hadn't thought about in years, but they're there or they wouldn't come up. And it reminded me of Al-Anon. One of the best thing about Al-Anon was go to a meeting and we're looking at a topic and somebody says, oh, well, this, what this reminds me of is this or that in my life. And as they would talk about it or what it meant to them and how they use it, and I would think, oh my gosh, I do that too. And I had no idea. I had no idea that was in me. I had no idea. And many of the things that they experienced that's the reason they were in Al-Anon. That was the reason I was there too, but I didn't realize it. And that they helped me become radically honest by showing me these things in themselves. And I would get triggered. I'd feel something and I'd go, whoa, can I relate to that? And I would think, you know what? That's just exactly what was happening to me in my life. So in that way, that part of Choose Again reminded me of Al-Anon. That was, and how being with others, hearing what their stories, letting them share their pain and their frustration, and so that they can let it go, and then supporting them in that letting it go, believing in them as they do it. It's a wonderful thing. However, whatever process one chooses to do with forgiveness, if you have the opportunity to be there for someone else and to let them be there for you, what a gift that is. Everybody gains from that. I always think about what they say, that when the water rises, all the ships rise with it, so when one person rises, we all rise with them. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you found some of this helpful. And if you did, please like it. And if you haven't yet, then please subscribe. And I will be back hopefully tomorrow. I've been on vacation, so I'm kind of being a little bit lax here. But hopefully tomorrow I'll be back with you again. See you then.